Okay, good Chodesh, everyone. Okay, let's review where we're up to. So the Shilas were Breishis that the Rebbe Rashab brings Rashi's explanation that the Torah, Rabbi h'tשכ, should have begun with the first mitzvah. And the reason it starts with Breishis is to Lasis Lahem Nachlas Goyim, to give Eden should give an answer to the nations of the world with respect to the accusation that they list him. So the Rebbe Rashab said that in explaining Rashi's question, he underscores the question. He says it's nifla, it's wondrous, it's very strange indeed that the Torah, which is all about heroes, instructions, and dinim, should start with the account of creation altogether. It seems to imply that the account of creation shouldn't necessarily even be in Torah, not in Torah Shebeksav at least. And therefore we must say that since Torah is Hayirah and Dinim, that starting with Breishis and answering the Ummah Ha'olam, that's Dinim, that's Hayirah. So how is that? It's also Shaykh to Torah. What the connection is to answer their Taina, that's Torah. We also have to understand the language Nachlas Goyim. It's an acknowledging that it's the inheritance of the nations. It's acknowledging that it's their Nachla. To understand that, and we have to understand also the Lashon HaMedrash, which Rashi quotes here, Rabbi h'tשכ, that who did he give it to? The one who was upright in his eyes. Not simply God gave it to him wherever he chose, wherever he desires. What's the diak in Ish, in Yasha Be'inov? Okay, so to understand this is where the Maimber begins here, the inyan of Kel Deis. So there's a chiddush a little bit here, although I understand that in other places in Chassidus we also find this, and that is as follows. The Pasuk says, Kel Deis Hashem, God is a God of knowledge, so there's Das Elyon and Das Tachten. So usually, right, we pointed out yesterday, Das Elyon, which is the Maila Yesh or the Mata Ayin. What's the Mata? The Mata is creation. Creation is Ayin Ve'efes. Here, it teaches differently. The Mata goes on the Oyer, and it's actually the highest revelation of Oyer, but it's Mata from Atzmos. So why is it called Ayin in Das Elyon? Because the Oyer is nothing other than God's expression. It's Batel B'Metzias Be'emes in its own expression. The world is Batel B'Metzias but doesn't know that it is. But the Oyer that is expressed from Atzmos is completely Batel, which means in simple language, it expresses Atzmos, Eibishter. So the Maila Yesh or the Mata Ayin, the Maila is Atzmos, and the Mata is his expression, and his expression is nothing other than him. Das Tachten, Lamata Yesh, reality is what we see and feel. Lamaila, Ayin, also referring to Elikus, but this is the ha'orah that's responsible and invested in creation. Even this is Ayin, is no thing for us. We cannot relate to it. We cannot describe it, cannot touch it, cannot feel it. Okay. The second paragraph. It's lo pashut. I think this is the pshat. I discussed it with Reb Shalom Beko, the mashpia here in Yeshiva, and this was the conclusion. L'chayra in pshat in this ois. So maybe we should learn it again. Yeah? Let's learn it again. It's the last part that, as you saw yesterday, I was struggling with. Mamshir ba'maymer. So the Rebbe Rashab continues. T'chem sheyesh beis deis l'mayla. Just like there are these two divine perspectives, Shchinas das Elim v'das Tachten, k'moikin tzarich leis ba'adam, gamkin beis adeis. So everything has to be reflected in a person, and these two perspectives are also within the Yid. In brackets, a person in him, he's incorporated within him are all the levels of Seder Shtalshalos, because he's the objective of it all. The loftiest levels are the matamata till the lowest levels. So what are das Elyon and das Tachten? In Avodah, that's the Avodah of Yehuda Ilah, uniting the world and God from above to below. This is Avodah, Yichud. We're going to say this to Shem Yichud Kuchabricha Shchinte when we begin the formal part of davening Baruch She'amar, and that statement, Shem Yichud, actually is a general statement that applies to all the mitzvahs you do in the course of that day. Ba'adach Siddim say the Shem Yichud before every mitzvah. Minich Chabad, and it could be the Arizal, is to say it, Shalom Minich Chabad, is to say it once, but it's Inyan Klali for the whole day. So what's our whole purpose? Our whole purpose is to unite, to reveal God's wonders. So there's the Avodah of Yehuda Ilah, that's Das Elyon, and then the Avodah of Yehuda Tatar, Das Tachten. Now, what is that in terms of Shemus, Hashem's names and Revelation? So Elyon is Havaya, and Tachten is Elikim / Adnai / Malchus, in the broad sense. Shem Yichud Kutshu Bricha Ushchinte. Kutshu Bricha is Havaya, Shchinte is Adnai, or Elikim in the bigger picture. So this is the Yichud of Havaya and Elikim. So this Yichud happens two ways. Yichud of Beizifan and Yichud Yilav Yichud Tatar. This unity happens in two ways, from above to below, below to above. Vu Inyan, and that is when we talk about Shiluv Adnai B'Havaya. Sorry, so he spells it out. Shiluv Adnai B'Havaya, the fusion. Shiluv is the fusion of Adnai and Havaya. That's Yichud Ilah. The Shiluv Havaya B'Adnai, that's Yichud Tatar. And he explains the difference. When we say Adnai is fusing with Havaya, how do you say is Gabras Havaya? So what dominates here? It's Adnai in Havaya. So Havaya is the dominant revelation. His Gabras Havaya Adnai. So that is a revelation where the upper dominates the lower. It's Malamayda Lamata. On the other hand, Kasha Havaya, it's the Bur that dominates in. So when the Shiluv is Havaya Ba'adnai, so it is Gabrus Adnai Lavai. What dominates there is the recipient, the Makabel Malchus over Havaya, and that's Yichud Tatar. What's the emphasis? It's not just emphasis. What's the movement here? Has the upper descended to the lower, or the lower to the upper? That's the two Yichudim. That's the two Avodas. So far, so good, yeah? There are these two days, these two perspectives, as it were, in Torah. And what is that in general? He's going to give us two. Okay, we'll go further. For Inyan Lechem in the Oretz, that's Galia the Torah. So earthly bread is a revealed aspect of Torah. That's Galia. That would corresponds to Adnai. Elikim. For Lechem in Hashemayim and heavenly bread, that's Pnimis HaTorah. So that's one parallel. So he's just saying, Pashat, a Yid has to learn Torah. So when you learn Torah, you affect this Yichud. But in these two ways, learning Pnimis HaTorah is the Yichud of Adnai Ba'avaya. Pashat, you learn Pnimis HaTorah, you're learning about the Likus, and we're learning it with Seichel. We're Mamshechet Lamata. But what dominates is the Likus. In Nigla, we're talking about the tangible halachas, etc. It's melamata l'mayla. The whole nature of learning Nigla is with questions and answers. The engagement of the person is much more in Nigla than in this question. No. Clear so far? That's Bachlal. So we have to get this very clear now. Lechem in Hashemayim, lechem in the Oretz, lechem in Hashemayim is, no, Bachlal is coming soon. Specifically, rather, Lachem in Hashemayim is Nigla, the avodah of learning Nigla. Lachem in Oretz, sorry, and Lachem in Hashemayim is the avodah of learning Pnimis HaTorah. Ubachlolus Yoisen, and in a bigger sense, the distinction between Lachem in Oretz and Lachem in Hashemayim is this: that lechem in the oretz is masha nitim miyad la'achei Yetzias Mitzrayim. We were given commandments after Yetzias Mitzrayim. We were given the mitzvah of Shabbos and other mitzvahs. That is all till Matan Torah. That's lechem in the oretz. For lechem in the Shomayim, that is close in Matan Torah. That's what happened by Matan Torah. That includes everything. Kol kam gali the Torah, the halachas and so on that were given at Sinai. So that is lechem in the Shomayim. Gam zeh b'chinas das elyon. So here, by Matan Torah, even the nigla, since it's given by Matan Torah, is das elyon. So das tachten / lechem min ha'aretz is Yetzias Mitzrayim. From Yetzias Mitzrayim going forward. Das elyon is Matan Torah, which is all embracing, including nigla. Here the distinction here is, but before the distinction between lechem and heavenly bread and earthly bread was simply chassidus and nigla. Now, and nigla and chassidus. Now the distinction is Yetzias Mitzrayim and Matan Torah. That's the distinction. Now, what we need to appreciate, l'chayra, this is the pshat, is, of course, Yetzias Mitzrayim is every day. We mention Yetzias Mitzrayim every day. So every day there's the avodah of the tzivuim, of the commandments that were given by Yetzias Mitzrayim. Is going to say in a moment, that's all the avodah sabirurim. It's consistent also with just what happened. They're going out of Mitzrayim. They took out all the nitzutz kedusha. That's melamata l'mayla. When Torah was given, in addition to mentioning Yetzias Mitzrayim every day, we still got to engage the world. We've got to go out of Mitzrayim every day. We also have, even in the nigla, even when you learn nigla, it's l'mayla l'mata. A bitter l'mayla l'mata. That's what's coming now. We're clear? Is that clear, folks? Yeah, good. V'hainu shelechem in the oretz, hiyayidiyah the das tachten. So now taking Yetzias Mitzrayim, going further, Matan Torah going further. So das tachten is the Alvadin abirurim l'mata l'mayla. Again, Yetzias Mitzrayim, that's what they did. They were going out of Egypt. So l'mata l'mayla, they're elevating the sparks. That was the point of being in Mitzrayim. So what is that? Shadiz nas hayichud b'china hayichud havaylikim b'chinas shiluv havay bad. What dominates there is Adnai, because they avoid the hears of it. They say berurim l'mata l'mayla. That's Yetzias Mitzrayim every day. Every day Yetzias Mitzrayim, which is elevating the sparks, is shiluv havay ba'adnai. Lachem in the Shomayim, which in general is limud HaTorah, and specifically in Torah it's limud pnimis HaTorah, right? What dominates is Havaya, and that's Das Elyon. So the conclusion here is that every day there's Havaya of Das Tachten, Das Elyon. Das Tachten is Havaya Seberurim, Das Elyon is limud HaTorah. Or, very specifically, within Torah itself, Das Tachten is Nigla, Das Elyon is Pnimis HaTorah. Okay? We're good? That seems to be the pshat. Now continuing Ois Gimel. Excuse me. I need to have a little bit of infusion of caffeine. So what is that? The caffeine infused in me. What's the ikka here? The caffeine in me, or me drinking the caffeine? Coffee. Depends on my attitude. Depends on my cheshivas I give to the coffee. Or if, or none. Right? Akapav. We'll continue.
The hot plate is the main.
Sorry?
The hot plate is the main.
The hot plate, that's a whole new dimension. This, by the way, is a pellet. How old is it?
Over 9 years.
It's supposed to last how long? 9 months. It's beschus the shir. It's part of the chassidus. He doesn't want to leave. You know, throw me out. I want to be part of the chassidus. Saying by Maimon, and the Rebbe Rashab concludes. This is a summary of, he's summarizing the Maimon here. Mamshech, and concludes. Shapizeh, Yuva, Masha Kosav Rashi, now we'll understand what Rashi says. Should have begun only with the first mitzvah. understanding the depth of the question. Dinei Breishis on the one hand, creation. V'achodesh on the other hand, the mitzvah of Achodesh Zelachem. Heim Beizu Yifane ha'anoga shelamayla. These are two different conducts of the Eibishter. Nature and Nisim. Through which we can appreciate God's greatness, and that is Hanaga Tivis, which is Breishis Boralikim, natural conduct, looking into the world and nature, we can see God's greatness. Hanaga Nisis, and God's miraculous conduct, which is Pesach, which was the mitzvah given when the Yidden were in Mitzrayim. That's all part of Yitzias Mitzrayim. Kedis Baked says in the Sefer by the Baal HaKedah, who explains this. Shem al derech, so Teva and Nes is also similar to Ha'inyonim, the Das Elim, Das Tachten. So Breishis is Das Tachten, and the Chodesh Zelachem is Das Elyon, which in turn is Yichudi Ilav, Yichudi Tato, uniting godly, the world and God from below to above, or uniting God and the world from above to below. Well, reverse the order. Let me put it here. As he spells it out for us. Breishis is God conducting the world through the natural order. That's B'chinas Das Tachten, that engenders Das Tachten. Yichud Taton, that engenders a unity. From the starting point is creation from below to above. And that's consistent with the Shizayin Shel Chodesh Tishrei. That's the avoid of Chodesh Tishrei. Shuzman B'riyas Ha'olam. What are we marking? We're marking creation. The time of the creation of the world, that's when the natural order began. That's Das Tachten. So Tishrei is Das Tachten. Tishrei is Yichud Tato. But this month should be the first month of the year, which is all part of the Yitzias Mitzrayim. Chodesh Nisan, the month of Nisan. That is a revelation of godliness beyond nature. Das Elyon. That is the revelation of the higher to the lower, Yichudi Ilah. That's Shiluv Adnai B'Havaya. Kedisa B'Medrash, like the Medrash says, as follows. When the Eibishter chose Yaakov and his children, which of course, like the pasuk says, we say before Tkiyah Shofar, he chooses for us as our inheritance, really his inheritance, but our inheritance of him, the excellency of Yaakov, which he loves forever. Bottom line is, he chose Eden. So the Medrash continues, the choice of Eden came together with the following. He established in his world, when he chose Eden, he also established a month of redemption. The choice of Eden comes with a revelation because Eden are rooted in the Eibishter in creation. So with the choice of Eden comes a factoring into the world beyond nature. The month of Nisan is a month in the calendar, but it's miraculous. So in Shida the Marachas, breaks the Marachas means the whole structure of nature, or Bitla Teva, and the nullification of nature. They happen exactly by Yitzias Mitzrayim. So Yitzias Mitzrayim is simultaneously the revelation of God's choice of Eden, and at the same time he gives them, here's Nisan, the month of Nisan, because this is your mandate, to reveal godliness higher than nature in the world. Now, to appreciate Rashi's question, therefore Torah should begin with Achodesh Zelachem. It should begin with Das Elyon, Yichudi Ilah. Hanaga Nisis. Miraculous people. A divine people. That's the deeper meaning of the question. Torah should have begun with only with Achodesh Zelachem. The Kiv and Torah Bachlal, as we said before, is Das Elyon. Torah is Das Elyon. That was the second point he said. Within Torah Gufa, it's Chassidus and Nigla. But Bachlal, this whole Torah is Das Elyon. Das Tachten is Torah that was given the instructions. It was Matan Torah. They were given by Yetzias Mitzrayim. But Torah is Das Elyon. So therefore, since Torah altogether is Das Elyon, what's going on here? Starting with Breishis. Torah should begin with what it is and its whole entity, an identity, which is Das Elyon, Elachem, Shunyan Das Elyon. It's about Nisim, hidden nature, the eternity of Am Yisrael, etc. Yichud Ilah. That's the question. So why in the Matam Pasuk Breishis? So what's the answer? Says Rabbi Yitzchak. Mishum koyach ma'asav higid. He wanted to relate the deeds, the power of his deeds to his people. What is koyach ma'asav? Koyach ma'asav ayin koyach v'ashlita latev. This is the koyach, and the shlita means the control, the harnessing of nature. The avodah is engagement in nature, mitzad nature. That's the Pnimis HaKavona. The Pnimis HaKavona is refining the world, milamata l'mayla, b'chinas das tachten, to be engaged in the world, and from there elevate the world. Shiluv havaya ba'adna. And the reason Shagam means that's not a Torah thing. That's a Vidas HaBerurim. So why is this written in Torah? Answer. Even though the actual avodah is Shemban. Remember Shemban? Remember what this means? The different gematrias of Shem Havaya. Just to remind you, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. So it yields 4 different gematrias depending on how the letters are spelled out. The Yud is always consistent in all 4 ways. It's Yud, Vav, Daled. But the Hey can be Hey, Hey. It can be Hey, Aleph, or Hey, Yud. And Vav can be Vav, Yud, Vav, Vav, Aleph, Vav, Vav, Vav. So what's Shem Ban? Begematria Behema. Shem Ban is Begematria Behema, Behema Rabbah. This is the previous mind, but my more ago. That is when you spell the Miloi of Shem Havayis with a Hey. And that's Malchus, Hey. So what dominates here is 2 Heys. The first Hey is Bina, the second Hey is Malchus. They're both recipients. Bina receives from Chochmah, Malchus receives from Zohar. But they're worlds apart. Yud Kei is Elyon and Vav Kei is Tacht. So Shem Ban means, bottom line, the emphasis here is on the Hey, on Malchus. Who's Malchus? As the recipient of Avodas HaBerurim. In simple language, Shem Ban refers to, the emphasis is describing the avodah of Eden, in empowering Eden to do the avodah milamata. So he says, true taka, the avodah seberurim is what is the starting point is Malchus, us down here in Elam Hazeh, Shem Ban. Mikol Malkim, gam inyin zer the ahora Shem Ma. Where do we get the koyach to do that? We get that from Torah. What's Shema? Shema is where the Milui is, it's 45, where the Milui is Aleph. Hey spelled Hey Aleph, and Vav is spelled Vav Aleph Vav. So that Shema, so that is what Torah is. So it's Shema that gives us the koyach, Torah gives us the koyach to be able to engage the world Mulamata Lamayla. And that's why Torah's got to tell us, Breishis Boroh Likim, Kindalach, there's an avodah to do, and you hear the koyach is coming right here in Torah. Therefore it said in Torah, Shema, Torah Shema, but Aleph Bachlal. Aleph means a teacher, Aluf. It's a pasuk. Aleph Chachma, Aleph Chabina. So Torah itself gives the instruction / empowerment for the avodah seberurim. So that's the meaning. That's Rashi's answer. And this is the answer. The whole world belongs to Hashem. It is. And he gave it to who is upright in his eyes. What's first the diakia is not the Yashar, but the dik is on the Sona. He gave it. B'chinas nesina mishema. Giving is milamayla lamata. That's Shema. B'chinas tamshach milamayla lamata. Oh, now he answers. V'zeh gamkin. That also answers Lashe Yashar, who is upright, as the pasuk says, Yashar yechaz uponim. Those who are upright, behold his face. So it's the avoid of Yidden. I'm going to add here, upright means you stand up. It's milamata lamayla. You hold yourself upright. So it's the avoidim lamata lamayla. That's Hashem is giving it to Yasha be'enov, because the point of Torah is the avoidim lamata lamayla, and that's the avoid of Yasha. Kemamio, standing upright, proud Jew, not a simple avoid. So the conclusion is, why does the Torah start with Breishis? Because the tachlis is avodah seberurim. And Torah, the tachlis avodah seberurim, what are we learning Torah for? What are you Torah for? Just the mitzvahs are finished. Because Torah gives the koyach. That's Shema, which empowers Shemban. Clear? From Kloli? Folks, yeah? Next paragraph. Yeshlim Shazal, that's the meaning of it. Now comes the Rebbe's. Tell us kind of a summary of the Rebbe Rashab. Now the Rebbe. That's why the beginning of the year, Kairi in Parshas Breishis. We read Parshas Breishis, you say that Nogal Piateva. We're talking about nature. Now begins the Seder Avodah in the world. We're part of the world. We're engaging it, and we're lifting the world. The empowerment, the empowerment comes by the fact that Torah itself tells us that's your avodah. It's not just merely an instruction; it's an empowerment. Canal, as we said before, according to the Rebbe Rashab, shekabinyan habirurim the Shemban, the birurim of Shemban, they have orders Shema. It's through the illumination, the empowerment that comes from Shema. Which is Bechlal, it's Atzilus. Atzilus is ha'orah in Shemban, which is Biyah. Shezeh in HaTorah, that's Torah. V'zeh anasin askoyach, Shema is Torah. V'zeh anasin askoyach, lavidis haberurim, this gives us the power to elevate the Meshach Kol Hashon HaKula, to elevate, extract the sparks throughout the entire year. Shenim Shochim, it's all drawn at the Ekriya b'Torah b'Shabbos Breishis, by the reading of the Torah on Shabbos Breishis. Hope you're all paying attention. Shabbos Klolis, Shabbos Breishis is not just another parsha. It's the first parsha, and it's a general parsha. And mind you, Shabbos Breishis, Parsha Breishis spans the greatest time span of all the other parshas combined. From Adam till Noach, and from Noach till Moishe Rabbeinu. Is much smaller. The numbers are significantly smaller. So it's a Shabbos Klolis, Kipizkem Chak, Admo, like the figure that says the way in Yiddish where a person orientates himself, positions himself. Shabbos Breishis kach nimshach al kol hashana kula. So it goes the whole year. So Shabbos Breishis in summary is Torah is giving the marching orders and the empowerment to carry out the avodah of elevating the world. How do we do that? Because we're connected forever to something higher, to Shema, to Atzilus, to Likus, and that's what empowers the Yid in his avodah. Okay, let's go further. Please down it. Yeah, where is folks? We're all on the same page. Yes, Lahoisev. Now to add more detail, understand this in one more optimistic way. They were saying that the divine perspectives which translate in Avodah as Yichudi, Lo, Yichud higher, affecting the high unity and then the lower unity. Yesh no ba'inyan the Breishis gufa. We actually see this in Breishis itself. Shazel Mashakosev. This is what the pasuk says. Breishis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'sa'aretz. Heaven and earth. Sharichil bin shemayim la'aretz. So the distinction, the difference between shemayim, heaven and earth, are derech hachiluk is similar to the distinction between das elyon v'yichud ilah, between the higher das and yichud ilah, the higher unity. That's shemayim, that's heaven. The das tacht v'yichud tato, the lower perspective and the lower unity, which is aretz. Now let's examine this. So in these two avodas and two deyas, yesh the haseder, the Breishis, the seder is shamayim. What comes first? Shamayim and then aretz. Shamayim kodmu la'aretz. Heaven precedes. So it's a little bit of a tension here, not a tension, but a nuance. Overall, the pasuk is saying the avodah is what? Engage the world. But what does the pasuk put first? Shemayim. She explains. Shu al derech, putting Shemayim first is Torah itself saying, you should know. You should know. Torah be'emes should begin with das elyon v'yichud ilah. That's the higher avodah. That's how. So Torah begins with Shemayim before aretz, but then later on in the conclusion of the whole account of creation, what does it say? And then there's the actual seder. Then there's the seder of, and when it all is wrapped up, but yoyim hasois havay lekim eretz v'shamayim. When Hashem, this is the day that concluded God's making earth and heaven. Here at the end already, she'aretz kodma l'shamayim. Here earth precedes. Shal derech pasach beBreishis. That's reflective of overall beginning with Breishis. Das tachtem yichud tato. So what he's saying so far is, he's going to explain it exquisitely. He's saying now that the Torah itself, by putting Shemayim before aretz, wants us to ask the question. Gewalt first should be yichud ilah lekos, you alone. But in the big picture, we're talking about creation. The avodah is melamata l'mayla, and that's explicitly stated at the end of the account of creation, where aretz appears before Shemayim. That's overall, and now he's going to explain it now. Where are we up to? is not going to explain it, but it's already 5:2. I'm going to stop here, and I want to start a story with Alan Laser tonight, and tomorrow's his yahrzeit.